Yes.
All right, we just spoke about strategy formulation, which is the reviewing of alternative options for the mega strategy. We spoke about acquisition, we spoke about retention. So we continue with the theory of strategy formulation, but now we are going to discuss it more in terms of its application. How do we apply it? Where do we apply it? Because it doesn't help in marketing to speak about theory, to talk about theory without taking that theory to reality, without testing that theory and have an intellectual critique whether that theory works or it doesn't work. So we are going to do a case study analysis. We continue with the same concepts and definitions for strategy formulation. And the concepts are digital marketing strategy and online marketing. And it could have worked better if there were many students in this class, but we can always discuss it, the two of us, because we do not have any option. So strategy formulation for ShopRite online shopping and deliveries. Do you know ShopRite and Tati?
Yes, I do.
Have you been to ShopRite? Have you bought anything at ShopRite?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. It means that we are talking about the same thing that you are all familiar with. So realize that ShopRite doesn't have any digital presence. Do you know that?
So don't they have a website?
Yes,
Uh,
they do not have any digital presence. They have got catalogs for uh, the offline stores. So, for example, on the Facebook page, they can only have those promotions that are happening online, but they do not have any e-commerce transactions online. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
You see, Checkers, which is owned by Shoprite, they've got 60/60, meaning that you can shop online, you can shop virtually. But Shoprite doesn't have that yet. So now, Shoprite has decided to offer online shopping and deliveries for its customers, just like with Spar to You. So identify the digital marketing strategies and group them according to whether they support the customer acquisition, conversion, and retention. So if we were to come up with a strategy for ShopRite, how would you go about it, Ntati? Online shopping and deliveries. Do you think it could work for ShopRite to have those things?
I
Do you
don't
think they are missing out currently?
I don't think it would work because the first thing I thought about when I saw the word ShopRite is the fact that most ShopRites that I've seen are in townships and not so
Mm-hmm.
in urban areas. And I think ShopRite is the cheapest supermarket, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's why they are placed in rural areas, if I could say. So I don't feel like it would work at all for
All
me
right.
because of that.
So let's say customers are actually interested that ShopRite has got an online presence. How would you go about it? What are the factors that you are going to consider with ShopRite being online and having deliveries?
Okay, the first thing that needs to happen is um, customers and potential customers need to be aware of the fact that ShopRite is planning on launching an online shopping and delivery app or service. So That's where I would start, just creating awareness around the idea. And then what would be the second thing? The second thing, I guess, would be, yeah,
Okay, let's start with one thing here.
yes.
Who are the customers for ShopRite? Who shops at ShopRite? And do those people spend time online? For example, do they have social media accounts? Do they have access to emails? So who is the persona? Remember, we spoke about the buyer persona several times. So who is the ideal customer for ShopRite? Once you have identified the regular buyers at ShopRite, and we are talking about traditional buyers here, then we need to come up with options on how we are going to reach out to those buyers using digital platforms. So the first one you already mentioned, you mentioned their geographical location. You say that in most cases, ShopRite is based in townships. It is based in the CBD. So it is people who are based in township. That's the first thing that you mentioned. Then the second thing would be the demographics of those people. Who are these people? Mostly it will be those gogos who get the SASA, the grant money and something like that, because I've realized that ShopRite actually have got packages, 100 rands combo for senior citizens, you know.
Mm.
So now you ask yourself, will those senior citizens be able to take note of online shopping and deliveries? What about the 5 Ds of digital marketing interaction? So do they have access to devices? Do they have access to data? Do they have access to digital technology? Do they have access to all these characteristics or the resources that are required in order for ShopRite to have online shopping and deliveries for them? So it could work to senior citizens who have got grandchildren, your age, who are the millennials, who can always do these things on their behalf. Do you get what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So I'd have someone like my mother who cannot, let's say, she's too old to know how to operate mobile applications. By the fact that she would be living with me, I can always request Uber on her behalf. I can always have Uber Eats and all these virtual applications at her doorsteps because I am a digital native. Remember, I spoke about digital natives, digital immigrants, and digital refugees. So realize that ShopRite, its target audience, mostly it will be the digital refugees and digital immigrants. Those who are not either are not familiar with the digital community, or they do not use or they do not engage in the digital community on a daily basis like the digital natives do. So instead of targeting the senior citizens, they would actually target those who have got grandchildren or who have got kids who are more likely to engage on digital devices, to engage with digital platforms. So that's how I realized that up to now, ShopRite does not have online shopping. And I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe one of the reasons is that there's great digital divide, and most of our gogo and abomkhulu, they cannot manage to have complete orders using these platforms. Not all of them are like that. There are some who are still clever up to now. Those abathanda izinto who can always navigate the digital platforms. Then we spoke about the rich. The other thing that we'd consider is deliveries, the shipping costs, the security around shipping. You are the one who mentioned that ShopRite is mostly based in townships, is mostly based in the CBD area. Is it going to be safe when it comes to deliveries in Tati?
I think for the most part, it won't be safe because there's a lot of crime that happens in the CBD and in rural areas as well. So they'd have to take extra measures to protect the orders.
True. That's very true. The first one would be crime. You know, the driver's safety. The drivers won't feel safe enough to deliver food in most townships. Not that, in South Africa, crime is everywhere, by the way, but companies always look at the risks. Which areas have got more risks than others? We cannot agree that crime only happens in townships. It also does happen in Sentin. It does happen in luxury suburbs. But in most cases, organizations or brands would assess the nature of the risks and the cost that will come out of that risk. So it's crime. What about the second one when it comes to deliveries?
I'd say geographical location.
Yes, geographical locations. It becomes very tricky because most of them, you realize that, let's say they live in a shack, and that shack is not umkuku. It's not picked up on what do you call this? On Google Maps, you know. So, and there are many people even today they struggle to request Uber from townships. Imagine if you are in Alex, imagine if you are in Diepsloot, imagine if you are in Zandsprut and you are at the corner of that shack and it's not being recognized on the Google Maps or whatever GPS platform that you would be using. So it means that delivery drivers are going to struggle to locate the customers in township, other than someone saying that you need to drop this opposite the school or opposite the post office or opposite the community hall, opposite a church. Otherwise, having an accurate physical address is going to be tricky with deliveries. What's another risk that needs to be considered with deliveries?
Can payment be a risk?
Yes, payments also do contribute in 30. That's correct. You know, e-commerce giants like Takealot nowadays, they've got a multiple options for payments. There's cash on delivery. You can use instant EFT. You can use a card payment. But what about the grannies? What about the target audience for ShopRite? How are they going to navigate with the payment gateways? So that one do contribute. But there's something else that I thought maybe you might able to pick it up. In most townships, especially in formal settlements, there are protests almost every day, not in a bad way. There are service delivery issues, you know. Today there's a protest about that. Today there's a full road closure because whenever there's a protest, roads are barricaded with stones, with burning tires. You know how it is, right?
Yes.
So it means that the risk of disturbances, even if drivers won't be hijacked, like in terms of crime, but it will be difficult to reach out to customers because there's a road closure, or it will be difficult to reach out to customers because the police have diverted traffic. It's now a longer route. These are the things that we come across on a daily basis in South Africa, and you wouldn't know the frequency of protests, of service delivery protests in townships. So the risk is too high when it comes to deliveries. Remember, when it comes to digital marketing, we want our customers to have a fluent customer service, customer journey. Their customer journey must be smooth. But with issues like crime, with issues like service delivery, protests, with issues like payments that you've mentioned, it becomes difficult. It becomes impossible for ShopRite online shopping and deliveries to take place. So the insights that we have discussed, customer acquisition, conversion, and retention, you realize that once ShopRite are in and kicking in terms of their online shopping, everyone will be interested because people always want to try out new things. So the customer acquisition is going to be very high. Even the conversion, there can be a notable engagement on the conversion side. But retention is going to be difficult. Remember, retention is just having repeat buyers, having customers coming back again. Once someone has made an order, tomorrow they are also going to make another order. But retention is going to be tricky, considering everything that we have discussed now, considering the crime, considering the protests, considering the payment gateway. So someone is going to try out ShopRite app today, only to realize that their order was delayed due to a protest that was happening on the corner, or the delivery vehicle or the delivery bike got hijacked. So those are the experiences that customers wouldn't want to associate with. You know, as customers, we always want convenience. We always want comfort. So if there's no form of convenience and comfort, it's difficult to have customer retention. It's difficult to have customers who would buy again, no matter how scarce a product is. Is it making any sense?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So these are the things that brands, be it a small brand or bigger brands like ShopRite, would consider whenever there are new opportunities brought about by digital technologies. So it's not like ShopRite or the marketing managers or the digital marketing people at ShopRite are not aware of these things. They've done their strategy formulations like we are doing. They've come up with so many options, and they've realized that most of these options, they are not going to work. Not because ShopRite does not have the resources, but it can affect the customer journey for the people living in those areas that they would like to reach. It's not only the geographical aspect of townships, also other characteristics of their target audience, their age, their generation. Many gogos are used to go into the shop and buy bread. They are not used to shop online and have bread delivered at their doorsteps. So you need to find out or to have customer insights whether they are willing to abandon their tradition of going to the shops in order to start this new journey of online shopping. So you must also understand the people who buy from you, the technologies that they adopt, and the technologies that they do not adopt. So if the technologies that they do not adopt are those that you are going to be using as part of your new endeavor, it means that you are going to be out of touch with your customers. And it can always have some negative ramification, especially when it comes to sales. Sales can decrease dismally. Brand loyalty can also be affected. I've also discovered, I think you can withdraw your SASSA money from ShopRite, right?
Yes.
and things like playing lotto or betting. There are also some of the things that can make it quite difficult to have online shopping and delivery for ShopRite. Are you finding this interesting, Ntati? Is it sinking in or it's quite complicated for you? Are you
No,
getting it?
it's definitely sinking in.
All right. So that was the exercise about strategy formulation, what we spoke about in the previous lesson, and this was just as a case study for it. So just in conclusion, as we mentioned, so it is important that the digital marketing strategy should be based on objectives. So you need to know what you are going to achieve. That's why we have given you guys an opportunity to come up with 2 objectives and tell us how those objectives are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. You also need to be consistent with the types of customers that use and can be effectively reached through the channel. We spoke about the customers that ShopRite use. You also need to support the customer journey as they select and purchase products using this channel in a combination with other channels. We also spoke about the customer journey that can be affected by online ShopRite for the hardcore ShopRite customers. So all these, I'm not going to go through it because you have already discussed it in the previous lesson. So all these do contribute to strategy formulation. And you can even know how to measure, how to apply the KPIs on everything that we have discussed. For example, you can measure the frequency of protests in an area to see how difficult it's going to be to have delivery in townships. You can measure the number of rejected payments or the struggles that the elderly or the older customers are having when paying for the order. So all those things can be part of the performance indicators. The performance indicators can always tell you whether the strategy formulation is working or not. And if it works, you can still use the performance indicators to check the progress of the objectives that you had initially. So if you say that you're going to acquire 550,000 new online customers, as it is put on the first column there on the diagram on the screen. If you say that you need, the objective is to acquire 50,000, you can have indicators there in terms of incremental number and the percentage of sales from affiliate program, marketing program. I think I mentioned this on Tuesday as well. With TikTok, you can use the voucher numbers, the URL link, whatever that you have inserted in that campaign that is going to measure the effectiveness or the progress of the objective. So that's it about lesson 50. Are there any questions or comments about this case study?
I'm all good.
Okay, so let's quickly have a look at market and product development and business revenue model strategies, because they also contribute to strategy formulation, by the way. Remember, we spoke about market penetration. So here, will be sort of a revisit to the ENSOF grid model. It's going to be a revisit to market penetration, market product development, and diversification that we spoke about in early March and late February this year.